I always love the earlier rounds. The earlier rounds are so instrumental because their expectations are still not set. They can be 2-0, or like I said, they can be 0-2, but they can still make it all the way to that, to that golden 6-2-1 record into day 2. And they're, as the day evolves, of course, it's whether those players prioritize going for that, or going for the championship points brackets. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how both of our players are setting up for this one. And of course, two faces I think everybody will be familiar with.
Oh, very much so. As you guys very well know, we have our fantastic Tord Reklev, a champion of champions, and our fantastic UK brethren, Kai Wainwright, who I've played a lot of times at Cups and Challenges.
Yeah, I mean, no UK player is a stranger to Kai. Fantastic player, lovely person as well.
Oh,
so I'm so excited to see him, of course, on the top stage once again, and of course against Tord Reklev, the final boss in most people's circumstances when it comes to the Pokemon TCG. But Kai Wainwright, of course, a common culprit when it comes to the top standings. The Bremen Regional finalist, of course, in 2022, LAIC top 64 2 years running, and of course that Stuttgart Regional top 32 as well.
Yeah, honestly, neither of these players are shy to a fierce battle. But of course, we then have our challenger challenging Tord Reklev, of course, world's finalist in 2023. Always with that fierce battle against Vance Kelly. And then the LAIC champion 2022, NAIC champion 2017, 2023 EUIC finalist. How will the challenger Kai Wainwright take on the wily veteran who has prevailed through hundreds of battles?
Yeah, achievements that are definitely quite intimidating to most of our player base, of course. But thinking about Tord Reklev's deck, and that is not a mistake. That is a Charizard and an Urshifu Vmax. Looking at his deck, you would have thought that he maybe had lost a bet going into this event. He maybe had influence somewhere, but of course he's going into this event 2-0 into this round 3. So this deck again, like the Golden Go, like the Chenpao, offering threats that maybe most players are not seeing. And Kai Wainwright there representing Gardevoir EX once again.
Yeah, Kai's been on Gardevoir for quite a while now, as far as I've known. I've not known Kai kind of change from this deck in quite a little while now. So from what I've known, Kai is a very strong Gardevoir player, but also a very well referenced one. Now, Tord has many tricks up his sleeve, which I like about this deck. It seems very flexible. It is a fantastical creation, and honestly has so many surprises. I wonder whether Kai will be able to keep up with those.
There's tricks up his sleeve, but looking at this deck, there's a lot going on right now. There's the Pidgeot EX being added consistency, but it's the 101 in Tele Online from Chilling Rain that is keeping for an eye on me. And of course, quite interesting prizes there from Tord. A lot of one-offs, but of course that Peonia being in the prize, he won't be getting access to them anytime soon. And of course the one Rapid Strike Energy, the one double Turbo Energy, that Yoga Loop isn't going to be active, as well as that Rapid Strike VMAX as well. But here we see Kai Wainwright, and of course with your favorite card of today, Bal VIP Pass, a very strong start, and of course a primal setup here from Kai.
Oh, I like that one. Primal setup with our fantastic Scream Tail in the active, which could be quite a strong contender against Tord's deck, where Tord does run a lot of smaller kind of single prize Pokemon that could be picked off during the course of the battle. But Kai's going straight in with, of course, a strong start, taking Radiant Greninja and a Ralts to begin with. I honestly think that a very clear Gardevoir setup is very important in this battle. So Kai getting energy into the discard pile as soon as they can is going to be very advantageous.
Yeah, using the conceal cards there straight away and attaching to that Screamtail, and just a pass here. The advantage Tord will have, of course, in this matchup is Kai isn't quite sure what tricks Tord are going to be up to, and of course, just eyeing up, benching that mana feed, just definitely wants to prevent an early Screamtail threat, but does have Ultra Ball in the hand. There's a lot of cards there. I think I see the one rare candy opts to Ultra Ball away the mana fee and the boss's orders. Starting the Sobble, of course, was a really strong start back in the day, of course, with that keep calling attack. Being able to get 3 basic Rapid Strike Pokemon down onto the field was such a strong setup back in the day, of course, with these Inteleon engines, as we used to call them. But here we see Tord just prize checking, as all good players do. And of course, with this deck, prize checking is going to be paramount as he goes into this matchup. So many one-ofs, of course. We're talking about the one-of, the 101 line, of course, of Inteleon, like we mentioned earlier, the 101 Pidgeot EX, the 1 Radiant Charizard. Amy, I can't keep up.
No, there are so many, but this Sobble is working really hard, and I think it's quite instrumental to this deck, where we have so many one-ofs. Being able to use that first attack on the Sobble to search your deck for 3 basic Pokemon is really crucial, because with so many one-off Pokemon, you're going to need to get those down on the bench early to evolve, to allow yourself to have the flexibility of making a deck in this style work. And I think that really is a testament to Tord and how seasoned they are as a player, knowing that actually having this one Sobble will make the rest of this battle flow so much easier.
Yeah, of course, and what a better way to set up than playing their own Battle VRP pass. And of course, with the help of Arven, getting the Forest Seal Stone as well. Of course, such a versatile card when you think about it. Of course, you can VIP pass another V Pokemon. We see it in the Charizard variant, of course, placing that Forest Seal Stone on a Rotom V, or maybe even the Lumineon itself, to use that Star Alchemy ability to grab any cards that you would like from the deck. But here we see Tord just continuing to look through the deck. The primary energy in Tord's deck, of course, will be the fire energy. Of course, Infernal Rain is going to give you a lot of flexibility in powering up multiple Pokemon in this deck. But the VIP pass coming down will mean that he can set up that Pidgey. He's going to be hoping to find that Pidgeot EX pretty soon to start getting up and running with that engine.
Yeah, as it stands, making sure that Tord has a strong bench at the beginning of this game is so important. And I don't know if I saw an energy in their hand to be able to use Sobble. So they've managed to go a different way about it and prioritize the Battle VIP pass through the Arven. But even just getting a Bidoof down there at the end gives them a lot of flexibility, going for 2 different draw engine styles. I like it.
Yeah, really interesting that the attachment of the Forest Seal Stone comes down this turn without using it, because of course Kai could play that one of the one of Lost Vacuum to get rid of it. And of course, if it's Tord's only option to draw out of it in the later turns, it could pose a little bit of a tricky situation for him. But here we see Kai just using that Mysterious Tail, such a good Pokemon to have in this God of War deck. Of course, we'll be saying goodbye with rotation around the corner, so Kai using the most of it right now in this archetype. And here we see opting for that Ultra Ball once again. Here we go with the reversal energy, and I think that was just an attach and a pass.
Honestly, I think so too, and that is a huge shame, because Kai really needs to keep up the pace. God of War is a deck that must keep pace with its opponent. 3 Psychic Energy in the discard pile. Fantastic. Love that start. Not managing to get a Curlier by this stage is a little bit scary. Now, luckily for Kai, they do have the opportunity of using alternate attackers such as Screamtail, which they start with, and protecting it by bringing it back to the bench, leaving Mew up in the active there is not a bad idea. Tord's going straight in with the beginning of their turn. That for a Seal Stone, though. What do you think they're going for, Ben?
Well, he can apply a lot of early pressure here. He's already got the Rare Candy and the Charizard EX in hand. With a Star Alchemy for a boss's orders, can knock out Kai's only Ralts on board and apply some very, very early pressure here for Kai. And here we just see the scoop from Kai.
Oh my goodness. You know, I think that Star is not ideal, and we know that God of War is a deck that takes a little bit of a long time to play, and it is a deck that has a lot of actions, and we do only have 50 minutes to play up to 3 games. So I think Kai took the signals.
Yeah, I really like seeing the early scoop here from Kai. He wants to increase the odds of a game 3 if one were to happen. And of course, Tord, they're able to apply the early capitalization of knocking out the Ralts early on. The writing was on for Kai to scoop an early game here, take the loss. And Tord just showing the consistency of his deck. Of course, with so many one-offs, you may be thinking, well, maybe not. But of course, with the addition of Forest Seal Stone and different options like Luminion and Pidgeot EX, and of course, the different supporters that Tord has in his arsenal, he can pose that early game pressure as well as that mid game with the Rapid Strike Urshifu that you may think of when looking at his deck. But Tord just showing the power there, showing the power of having different options in your deck.
What I really like about this moment, to be honest, for Tord, is that they did not reveal that rapid box element of his deck. It was not seen.
No.
We saw the Sobble, and that was it. Kai has no idea whether that is purely for consistency, for being able to get basic Pokemon on the bench, or whether there is an Inteleon package or more in Tord's deck.
Kai hasn't seen a lot of the toys that Tord still has to offer, but here we see another strong setup here from Kai with a Battle VIP pass, this time starting a Ralts as well. Definitely ideal, looking to grab another 2 Ralts here to bench early on. Here with the Battle VIP, of course, didn't see the rest of the hand, but may have more options to search out that Radiant Greninja as well, or maybe even the Mysterious Tail Mew for the next couple of turns.
I think the risk that is posed here for Kai is that, not having the Mew is a really not ideal circumstance, but also Kai has no idea that they need a Manaphy.
They will definitely need a Manaphy. Of course, and we spoke about this earlier, that Kai will be under a few suspicions as to what Tord has as options in terms of game plan here coming up. But here we see the, speaking of the Rapid Strike Urshifu, it is in hand already. Kai with the attachment and the pass over, and Tord starting that Battle VIP as well. And I'm guessing he's going to be looking through a deck check here just to go through his prizes once more. Again, a lot of one-offs. It's going to be of paramount importance to check what options are available to him as we go into this one. With that Pidgeot EX in the prizes. Oh, 2 Shiny Arcana Gardevoir in the prizes for Kai. These are going to be very, very important prizes as well. Of course, the Shining Arcana Gardevoir is going to be integral to the game plan for Gardevoir to apply that late game and mid game pressure of those large knockouts with that Brainwave attack.
Yeah, both players have some non-ideal cards in their initial prizes here for game 2. When it rains, it really pan-pours, because that's not great for Tord or Kai in this instance. However, I think if Tord does manage to get towards their more integral cards kind of early enough, it should be fine. But the Gardevoirs are not feeling like my favorite thing here.
No, of course, and starting the 2 Palpad in hand isn't ideal for Tord, but what I'm going to be guessing here is an ingenious play, really, with the Nest Dash Squovered, because, of course, you can save that current hand that you have with the Nest Dash, saving that hand, putting it to the bottom of the deck, drawing one, and then using the Squawk and Seize, keeping those resources alive for the later game.
Yeah, Squawk and Seize is an incredibly integral part of Tord's kind of resource management here. Yeah. I really like that combination of Squavit's Nest Dash with Squawkabilly. Squawk and Seize allowing you to discard your hand and draw 6 cards. But if you've only got 1 card in your hand, you're not wasting as many resources as you might be otherwise. As you say, Tord doesn't want to get rid of those pal pads this early on. Definitely a resource that they're going to want to keep for later. And there it goes, stashing them to the bottom. Squirrels making a nest right at the bottom of Tord's deck there as they draw 1 card and away it goes.
It's the 1 copy of Rapid Strike Energy.
Oh no, the secret is out.
The secret's out there.
The
secret's out there, and I would have loved to have seen Kai's facial expressions as that Rapid Strike Energy hits the discard pile.
Oh no.
Didn't see the rest of the hand there from Tord. It's still his first turn, so Battle v PPS can be played. And here we see
Avery
just being played there. Oh, Peonia comes into hand with the Rare Candy and Charizard EX as well.
Wow. That is a strong hand ready for next turn. I really like the addition of Avery against Gardevoir. It's a shame that it wasn't used to further effect, but benching the Sobble there is a bit of a tell as well to Kai that Tord does have more up his sleeve in this instance. I love this style of deck because it just has pure versatility and it keeps Kai guessing.
Yeah, of course. And with the insurance here that Kai is not going to be applying too much pressure early on, just benching that 1 Charmander is a viable play, right? Because if you can keep it, usually you're thinking about, oh, how can I keep this Charmander on board for later turns? But against Gardevoir, Tord has that security in the bank that, that Charmander can stay alive ready for next turn to be set up into that Charizard later down the line.
And Kai started their turn strong with an Io, thinking about using the Fog Crystal, presumably for another energy, I imagine for a concealed card. How are we thinking about that play?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a play that most players will be taking. Fog Crystal for that Psychic Energy with the Gardevoir deck usually means 2 additional cards with that concealed cards ability. And that's exactly what we see here from Kai. Fantastic play, thinning out the deck, of course, and drawing 2, maximizing his odds to get into some of the good stuff, Amy.
Yeah, unfortunately, won't be getting too much of the good stuff right now as a Collapsed Stadium and another Ultra Ball. Not the worst, but also equally not the best. Going into our first Curlier, finally.
First Curlier of the day for Kai in this matchup, I would have assumed. Definitely being 2-0.
Oh my gosh, more.
Here we see another Ultra Ball and the Counter Catcher as well.
Oh, more Ultra Ball, but not much else, unfortunately. The hand is looking a bit dire right now, choosing to discard another Ultra Ball, and Collapse Stadium's not going to get a showing in this matchup. Going for Mirage Step.
Yeah, I really like this play, keeping the Ralts on board as well for the later turns. Gives you the option of a Rare Candy play into a Gardevoir as well. But Mirage stepping into 2 new Curlier on the board is going to be what she wrote here for Kai, and what a play it is. Having that added consistency for next turn, being able to draw as many cards as possible as he goes into his next turn. But here we see Tord starting his turn with just top decking that Charmander. We see the more well-tempting trap in the hand as well with a Professor. There's a lot going on in that hand, Amy. There's a lot going on.
Oh, bringing up the Squawkabilly, just making sure that 2 prize Pokemon isn't going to stick around on the board when they had an intention of playing another. So now Tord's got their lovely Rotom down. Honestly, this hand is looking far from ideal. I'm not loving it. I think a turn might just end with an instant charge here because I don't think there's literally anything else that Tord can do. And so there we go for the instant charge, drawing 3 cards, but does automatically end your turn. So we move back over to Kai. Yeah,
I would imagine so. The instant charge giving you 3 additional cards, but ending your turn, unfortunately. But with the Professor Turo's scenario coming down, Tord was able to mitigate the threat of having that easy 2 prizer on the board. And of course, with Screamtail hitting those exact numbers, Tord can safely go into those later turns knowing that that option won't be available for Kai.
The nice thing about Kai's setup right now is that Tord can feel a little bit safe.
Yes.
They currently have 5 Pokemon on the bench, so it's locked in place. There's no way currently, especially with the discarding of 1 Collapsed Stadium, Tord might presume that Kai doesn't have a way of extending their bench any further than this, meaning that a Screamtail is currently not a threat.
I think the larger risk here for Kai is that there are no attacking options other than 2 prizes here. So he won't be able to attack with anything other than the Gardevoir EX. He's got a full bench now, so won't be able to use a Screamtail or even, other options like a Cresselia. But of course, now being in that tricky situation of having to use the Gardevoir EX, these are going to be 2 easy prizes for Tord to take out with his own Charizard EX, of course, with that weakness.
Honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about the Manaphy going to the discard pile. I know that it can come back later, but that scares me. How do you feel about the Manaphy sitting in the discard pile right now?
Well, it's interesting because Kai, again, we speak about not knowing the threats that Tord has in his deck. Not knowing that it'll put in Kai's mind, am I getting rid of a resource that's going to be pretty important in this matchup? We saw him getting rid of the collapsed stadium as well earlier on with the Ultra Ball. That could have been a resource that would have been integral in this matchup. So it's interesting to see how Kai approached this one, going in blind, so to speak, against Tord's deck.
Yeah, and that's the tricky nature of scooping a game 1 early. Sometimes I'll just give it a few more minutes just to figure out exactly what's going on in my opponent's deck, just noticing what resources they're using and what might be dangerous to me in a next game. But going all in here, Kai putting plenty of energy on actually a multitude of Pokemon, which I think is a good call here. Just start getting everything loaded up with a little bit of energy. If you're not worried about bench damage, then you're not worried about bench damage. It's worth just getting ready.
Yeah, I really like this play. The reason why is because, of course, not having to evolve into another Gardevoir EX next turn would be ideal for Kai to keep up with the prize race. Because if he can energy up this Curly with the Psychic Embrace earlier, with an attachment of a reversal energy, of course, and with him only taking 1 prize off this Bidoof, it means that Counter Catcher is live. I think what Kai's approach is going to be here is possibly taking out a Rotom next turn with the Shining Arcana Gardevoir if he was fortunate enough to take it off the prizes, so he can, again, keep up with the game's pace.
Yeah, setting the pace for the game's really, really important here, especially looking at a board full of primarily single prize Pokemon. Currently, they know that's not going to be the case in the future. And I kind of like that Kai is putting a bit of bait out there, like, go on, knock out my Gardevoir. Go ahead, take 2 prize cards. And kind of allowing Tord to go ahead in the prize race will benefit them later by being able to use comeback cards such as that catcher.
Yeah, we forgot Kai did play an Iono last turn as well, so it did have that added disruption to Tord, meaning that instant charge is less effective, of course, with those 3 additional cards just going right to the bottom of the deck. But here we see an Ultra Ball. I'm imagining it's going to be for that Charizard EX, of course. Going to start using that Infernal Rain to rain down some energy on the board here to start using that Burning Darkness attack, posing such threat to the the Gardevoir EX, of course, with that added weakness to Dark Pokemon. And here we see the Charizard EX coming down, and with that Infernal Rain, I imagine attachment to maybe the active as well for a retreat. Of course, with that Subble, that 1 retreat cost going to be a bit of an issue. Oh no, we see the attachment to the Charmander. Obviously has an idea of getting into the active with this Charizard EX in hand already.
Yeah, the management of energy as a resource in and of itself for Tord is going to be instrumental to their success. We're going to need to see that every energy is attached with purpose and precision, because it is a very finite resource in his deck. So just being able to get 3 of their 5 fire energy out right now, but we already know, of course, that Rapid Strike energy is in the discard pile. So already we've seen a lot of the energy that can be used in this battle already on board. And with just an instant charge, the turn comes over to Kai. Now this is actually a really interesting play from Tord, because he's not activating the counter catcher, making that Iono less effective as well, and of course turning off the effect of the reversal energy as well without taking a prize. I'm guessing
forcing another knockout here from Kai on the Sobble will rain those cards again less effective and inactive in the later turns. And we see, of course, the discard of the countercatcher itself as well again. But of course, the threat is still on the board for Tord in terms of the Rotom V. It's an easy knockout for Kai. Just the boss's orders up there onto that would make an easy 2 prizes, putting Kai 3 prizes up. But of course, Tord must have still some cards up his sleeve in terms of comeback mechanics.
Honestly, this battle is still up in the air. Oh, it could be either man's game here. We are seeing them play some real mind games, and that's the real show of the Masters. That is where we see that these players are not only seasoned, but some of the best of the best. They know exactly when to attack, not to be greedy and take KOs where it isn't necessary. Keep your opponent away from where they want to be in the flow of the battle. And
it's important. It's an important concept that I think a lot of players don't really take into account when they play against Gardevoir. With so many comeback mechanics that the deck holds, it's sometimes easy to forget that, oh, hang on a minute, their board has gone from 0 to 100 and I'm being knocked out for all sorts of damage with either the Shining Arcana Gardevoir, the Gardevoir itself, or even things like Screamtail as well. But here we see the boss's orders up onto the Charizard. Is there enough energy in the discard pile to take a knockout here?
I'm not sure, you know. So that's 3, that's 150 damage. Moonlit Hill!
Moonlit Hill with an additional discard and healing the damage of that Gardevoir as well.
Wow, that could be the difference, and I think it is the difference between being able to KO or not. We know there's loads of energy in the discard pile. Kai has been curating that incredibly impressively from the go, and yeah, that's 5 there, more in the discard pile. 180 we're on currently, and there it is. This is
a huge knockout here for Kai against Tord, and the Charizard, the biggest threat on the board, will be taking out from this Gardevoir. The Moonlit Hill, such a fantastic card, and an addition from the Paldean Fates expansion.
Reverse, but I'm so thrilled that we got to see Moonlit Hill in this battle, one of the most prominent standout cards that we saw from Paldean Fates.
This was such an important knockout, taking out that main threat again on Tord's board, but of course leaving that Rotom V on the side of the board as well for Tord means that this is an easy 2 prize knockout for Kai to take at any point in the game. So keeping that on board, having that option to take his last 2 prizes as an option will be very important as we get into the late game. But here we see the Lumenion being benched. You can imagine, and there's the Thornton.
I love Thornton. Thornton is one of my favorite supporters of all time. If you guys are unaware of Thornton, Tord's going to play it right now. Oh, gosh, could you imagine? So you will get to change one of your Pokemon from the board. You can choose a basic Pokemon and switch it with one in your discard pile. And that will allow Tord to instantly evolve a Pokemon. So we could go from an Urshifu V straight into a Vmax because the Pokemon has still been on the field for at least 1 full turn.
Now, Amy, there is a universe somewhere where Tord is able to Thornton into a Medicham V and evolve his Sobble into a Rapid Strike Inteleon.
Oh my goodness.
For a quick shooting onto the Gardevoir and then a Yoga Loop. How about that for starters?
We love that Pokemon mathematics. It's beautiful. But I think it's one of the standout cards in this deck for me. Again, having lots of one-offs, being able to be versatile with how we use our cards. And here it is. What is Tord going to transform? We're going for the Bidoof.
We're going for the Bidoof.
Honestly, I think this is a nice, strong move from Tord. We have seen that there's been a little bit of struggle with his card draw movement in this battle. Being able, he can thin his hand. Like there is a possibility, and then being able to draw back up to 5 using that fantastically flexible, industrious incisors ability. I think that was a really good call. He could have gone aggressive, but honestly, I think just making sure you're going to keep pace in a tricky situation like this is much more important.
Yeah, Nastash for 1 as well, giving the extra draw, of course, off that industrious incisors as an option. it's a common practice here with the bib barrel to have that additional Squover for the nest stash, giving you that additional draw power. And here we see the Hisuian Heavy Ball come down. I imagine a very important card in Tord's deck to be able to look at the prizes, of course. And here we see the Mysterious Tail Mew come down as well. And just a quick check of the prizes once again, just remembering what you got there. What are the options that are not available to me going into the later stages of this game? But having that Thornton come down into the Bidoof, of course, does give that extra consistency with the barrel, like you said. It's going to be the primary choice there for Tord to have. I, of course, did go through the option of going through that Medicham V, but these are the exact plays that Tord may have in his mind with this deck. So many one-offs, so many different options available to him, and so many different game plans as well for different matchups. So I can only imagine what's going through his head as the games go on. We see the Forest Seal Stone there attached to the Rotom V as well. The Star Alchemy still live, and here we see the retreat into the Mysterious Tail.
And it doesn't look like Mysterious Tail has quite picked up what we want there. Ultra Ball, probably the best decision, but with a really thin hand, it's a little bit risky. Definitely going to have to be discarding something suboptimal. Not really too happy about that, but it does allow us to get into a Charizard. I'm not sure there's many other options unless I am missing something, which I very well could be, because Tord is the expert and I am here on the caster desk. But honestly, I'm really loving to see the flexibility of this deck so far, and Tord piloting it couldn't be better.
Yeah, and Tord really needs to take out this Gardevoir. It poses such a threat here.
My word.
For him, of course, taking so many large knockouts now with the Brainwave, and with no damage, additional damage being put on it. Of course, the Yoga Loop isn't going to be live anymore with the attachment of the double turbo energy onto the Lumenion. Does still have Palpad, does still have Thornton, so that play is still live, technically. But of course, without any Sobble, can't evolve into that Rapid Strike Inteleon, so no quick shooting is an option. But I don't know what Tord's game plan is going into this. This is just the beauty of innovation and having those different game plans going into this varied meta. He'll have an idea of how these games go against Gardevoir, but sometimes the cards don't play quite as well, or in a nature that you may anticipate. So here we see Kai just taking an additional 2 off the Curlier there as well. Has a large hand now, Amy.
Yeah, no kidding. Kai's really going for it. Very thin deck, but they've got such a strong stance on board. Honestly, it could just be as simple as to boss a 2-prize Pokemon, accepting that you're never going to be behind in that prize race. I don't think it's that instrumental at this point in time. Kai is quite far ahead. Yeah, there we go. Going for the boss with the Rotom, analyzing quite accurately that Tord is still kind of struggling to get off the mark and make a meaningful attack yet, saying, okay, well, although disruption could be effective, actually, I'm just going to take 2 prize cards, taking Kai Wainwright down to 1 prize card in this battle.
Yeah, I really like taking out the Rotom V, not only consistency with the instant charge, but of course with that Forest Seal Stone attached, would have added an additional option to Tord as he goes into his later turns. The V-Star is still active, so I really like that knockout. And here we see the promotion of the Lumenion with that double turbo energy. And let's see what Tord has to say in these later turns. With Kai down now to 1 prize, and Iono would be massively disruptive. We see Kai's hand being absolutely massive. So here we see an Ultra Ball coming down. That Radiant Charizard hitting the discard pile, of course, with that Pidgey as well. And here we see the Tempting Trap. Now, this is an option here for Tord, of course, in this matchup. Not too many switch outs would be had in this Gardevoir deck commonly, so this would be a fantastic option going into the later game. Here we see a Super Rod, possibly for more energy to start charging up. That Tempting Trap can, of course, evolve into that Charizard Infernal Rain onto the Morwell. And here we see the Custom Catcher, of course, Counter Catcher, of course, in hand already. Custom Catcher was a long time ago.
Yeah,
Amy.
Very long time ago now.
Showing my age there. But, of course, here we see the Shuffle Up as well. But there's still a lot to do for Tord. There's still a lot to do.
Tord could have a really interesting play here, honestly. I don't think they're out of this this game yet. This is a wild one from the word go. I can really see Tord coming back from this. Perfect. Yeah. Absolutely perfection. Bringing the Radiant Greninja forward while a lot of energy is stuck on the Shining Arcana Gardevoir. The Tempting Trap inactive. As long as we manage to get that live, there is still a chance of a Yoga Loop taking Tord into an extra turn, and he might be able to mop this up still. The game is far from over.
This was a very important Iono, and an energy attachment is going to be integral here for Tord. Does still have Nestash and the Industrious Incisors. Did, of course, Super Rod those 3 energy back into deck. Now, Kai doesn't play any switch outs at all in his Gardevoir list, so this Tempting Trap might be all she wrote for Tord. Here we see the energy attachment straight into the Morwall, and it's going to be a question to Kai as to whether do you have the resources to get this Gardevoir, get this Greninja out of the active.
Yeah, it's going to be so tight. You saw Kai scraping through his discard pile to see what options might be left. But unfortunately, I'm not sure the Greninja's going to be... Oh, there it is!
There's the scoop from Kai. No options to retreat that Greninja. And when we spoke about what threats do you have, Tord? What toys do you have to play with in this deck? So many one-offs, so many different surprises, of course. And with that Tempting Trap Morwall as an option, came out of nowhere for Tord. And, of course, came up trumps against Kai.
Morwall certainly...